Time to swing into action. Hey, Team FDK, it's Ace of Bats here. No, it's not Jesse Byrne today. It's actually, we're doing a guest upload today. So, my boy Jesse, he just hit that 400 subscribers. Congrats to him over here. And he asked me, hey man, you think you might be able to do a fun little deck profile since we haven't done a collaboration quite yet? And I figured, yeah, I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff with Joker of Yu-Gi-Oh! I think it'd be really cool to get the other Byrne channel all taken care of over here. So, R2 and I have actually worked out a nice little ZarcMagician deck profile. Yes, I said ZarcMagician, not just Pendulum Magician. Everybody has Pendulum Magicians, but no one can summon Zark, and I have no idea why. So I thought I'd go ahead and get you the tools in the perfect toolbox to go ahead and get you to Zark every time, in addition to playing regularly without worrying about bricks. It's really nice. But before we get that started, let's go ahead and smash like 20 likes on this video, bare minimum. There are 400 of you guys on this channel. I know we can knock out 20 likes easily. I'm sure we can definitely get to 40. So, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put the high end to 40, but minimum 20 likes if you want to go ahead and see Jesse doing some really awesome stuff, which he does every day too. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. Alright guys, starting off strong with a monster in lineup, we have 4 copies of Stargazer Magician. That's right, 4 copies of Stargazer, or as he prefers to be called in his fully evolved form, Astrograph Sorcerer. This is one of your main combo pieces, and then Stargazer. It has kind of a niche effect in the scale if you get to it. You usually get a special summon it off of Astrograph Sorcerer in the first place, but if you run up against Rogue, it's not a terrible scale to have. It's just my least favorite scale. Also makes good Wavering Eyes fodder, so that's nice. And then same deal with the 4 copies of Time Gazer Magician, aka Chronograph Sorcerer, with 1 Time Gazer. I prefer to see a Time Gazer in the scale sometimes, again, against Rogue mainly when they're running a lot of battle traps. That's pretty nice, but it's mainly there to special summon off the Chronograph, and Chronograph is going to get you that same sort of card advantage to get you into your Electromite plays faster, so those are pretty essential. We've got 2 copies of Oath Dragon Magician, obviously, and then White Wing Magician too. White Wing you're usually just going to go ahead and dump off of Pendulum Call, or you're usually going to ditch it with Trapeze Magician or Time Star Magician to get to your Zark play a little bit faster. And Oath Dragon is a main combo piece that's going to whip more Magicians back into your hand so you can make a bigger Pendulum summon more consistently. And of course, we're going to go ahead and go to our next Zark Magician, the Purple Poison Magician. This is your main bread and butter kind of low scale over here. It's a great target for the Time Pendulum Graph because you're going to be able to remove 2 cards with 1 stone right there, which is really nice. It's also kind of a demi-honest if you have that in the scale, and you have a Dark Magician on the board, not the Dark Magician, but a Dark Attribute Magician on the board. Then you can go ahead and use this and jump it up like kind of Kalute style, 1200 points to do some serious damage there. It's the most important one, Black Fang Magician. This is also going to be a really big bread and butter combo piece, especially when you're going into your Electromite plays and you've done your Zephyr Magician, or excuse me, your Zephyr Metaltron plus Vortex combo. If you need to get another body on the board, this is how you're going to do it because your Astrographs are going to be in the graveyard. Wisdom Eye Magician, 3 of. I know a lot of Dark players don't use it. I'm using more of a Zark build. This is still very important. It's going to toolbox out your combo pieces as well as your scales to get you just the right scale at just the right time. And last but certainly not least, for the Magician lineup, we got our Harmonizing Magician, scale 8. It has a really nice scale effect where it jumps up your monster's attack points by 100 points for every Magician monster with a different name in the extra deck, which is pretty neat. But the biggest thing is the fact that when you special summon this one with a Pendulum summon, you can whip out another Magician out of the deck onto the field to tune, overlay, or link with. Now let's go ahead and talk about the other engine. Let's get into Rockin' the Dragon. So for our Supreme King engine, we have 3 copies of Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm. So this is the big searcher of the deck here. It's also a 1-card scale, and which also makes a really good target for Wavering Eyes too, I noticed. Another piece is going to be the Supreme King Gate 0 over here, which is part of a 1-card scale. It's a scale 0, so you can even Pendulum summon out a hand trap if you just need an extra body for whatever, if you're somehow playing a hand trap that is required at that level. And it's also really nice if you're Pendulum summoning what else? Performapal monsters if you choose to put Performapals in the build. I didn't, but just as an option for you guys. And then the last one, it's not technically Supreme King, but it is Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. This is literally just in here to facilitate a Zarc play. It does have a very, very niche scale effect. If you literally draw into nothing else, you can pop it in the scale on the end of your turn. You'll probably get a draw off of Electromite, and you'll be able to search for your Wisdom Eye Magician or any other Magician with 1500 attack points or less. Harmonizing, cough, cough. But you're not really going to use it in the scale. You're going to put it into the graveyard as quickly as possible. And then as for the other combo extender, we have 2 copies of Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser. If you're playing a more competitive build, take this out. Put a Curtain Raiser in, not a problem. Or honestly, you can put in a Foolish Burial, Dragon Shrine, whatever. But because we're playing Zarc, we only have room for 2 Curtain Raiser. It still has an amazing effect. If it's the only monster on the field, it gains 1100 attack points, but that's not what we're concerned about. We're concerned about putting this in the Pendulum Zone, because when it's in the Pendulum Zone, that's when you can go ahead and put it into the Monster Zone as a special summon, so it makes itself into a Cyber Dragon of sorts, assuming that you don't control a monster. So you can use that in combination with other cards like Astrograph, Sorcerer, Chronograph to get a special summon on board with another Pendulum monster, make your Electromite play, and then still have a normal summon for later, and then you can go ham from there and build a ridiculous board. We're going to go to Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, and then to Droll and Lockbird. So Droll and Lockbird, I like this better than Ash because it doesn't specifically hit one card to stop one search. It's absurd in the mirror match, really locks down the Trickstars pretty well, and occasionally it can hurt the Draco players pretty bad too. And then the Ghost Ogre, obviously you want to target those diagrams, you want to go ahead and knock out other Electromites, so on and so forth, just do some damage right there. I don't mind mainboarding 4 hand traps here. It's consistent enough to where it's not usually a problem. It's just kind of a sucky top deck, so occasionally I'll just kind of side these out, or I'll side these out depending on the matchup. Now for the spell half of the spell lineup, we have 2 copies of Wavering Eyes that helps search out the Astrograph to go ahead and get into bigger link plays, which is really nice. 2 copies of Duelist Alliance that really helps you search for the Time Pendulum Graph and the Star and the Pendulum Crawl and the Star Pendulum Graph as well too. So Star Pendulum Graph, I think it's still great at 1. If you resolve it once, you've pretty much paid for itself. You resolve it twice, you've won. And then for the Pendulum Call, still a great card. A lot of Pendulum players don't like playing this because it conflicts with the scale popping. Sometimes you just need scales, sometimes you need a combo with Time Pendulum Graph. It just depends. You have to have the flexibility. And if you can't figure out how to use Pendulum Call, you probably don't have the flexibility to use it, so not a big deal. Then for the 2 traps, just 2 copies of Time Pendulum Graph. It's a combo deck, so we don't like to play a lot of trap cards at the same time. This card can be such a blowout sometimes, especially if you hit the right Magician, if you hit the Purple Poison Magician, or if you hit any Magician under under Pendulum Call. If you hit any Magician under Pendulum Call in the scale and they're not destroyed, then you get to remove one of your opponent's cards for free in addition to whatever you destroyed too. So it can be a serious -2 for your opponent with a -0 for you, which I think is outstanding. We're going into the extra deck, guys. We're talking 1 Tornado Dragon. Back row is still a thing, so a nice thing about this is you can also proactively pop your scales. You can also put in something like Time Star Magician over this if you wanted to go ahead and get more search, but I like the Tornado Dragon. I think it's fine at 1. Trapeze Magician is drastically underrated. You could side this if you wanted to. I like to main it, mainly because I can stop Trickstars dead. Ask the Joker of Yu-Gi-Oh!, another frequent collaborator on Jesse's channel here. It's a great card. And then, of course, the last but certainly not least, Supreme King Dragon Dark Rebellion. It's an in-theme monster. It just requires 2 Dark Pendulum monsters, and it's like a Utopia Lightning off steroids on protein shakes, I guess, because it does do a lot of serious damage. It just doesn't have the Armades power, but with the control you get out of this deck, you don't usually need to worry about it. I usually swing into this right after I swung into Zarc and murdered something. It's a great call. 1 copy of Naruto the Moral Leader. We do run a lot of level 6 Magician monsters, and this is another free negate, which is awesome. 1 copy of Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, generic rank 7 monster, but the cool thing about this is you can actually recur your Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, but you're usually just going to link it away to get rid of it, and then you're going to be able to whip out a Vortex Dragon, which brings us right into the fusions. So 1 Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, which is going to be a compulse on summon, and also a negate of anything. So if you get a board of Naruto and Vortex, you're pretty much set for a game. 1 copy of Supreme King Dragon Starving Venom, just to go ahead and copy those Electromites in the graveyard, copy anything in the graveyard, it gets some extra attack points, it makes it really, really nice, has that piercing damage. And last but certainly not least, out of the fusions, Supreme King Zarc. So this is the win condition for the deck, blows up everything on summon. You do have to get rid of your Purple Poison Magician, your Black Fang Magician, and your White Wing Magician, as well as your Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon out of the graveyard, out of the scale, or on the field. Or in your hand, actually, I believe, too, is another option, which is really nice if you combine it with Astrograph Sorcerer. Yeah, you're going to go ahead and get rid of 4 monsters, but they're mostly going to be in the graveyard or in the scale or in the hand. If you get rid of one on the field, it's just going to be that and the Astrograph. So you go -2 to go ahead and summon this thing, but it wipes out everything your opponent has, and you usually have a game. Yeah, they can kaiju it, but if you summon this thing and you don't kill your opponent that turn, you deserve to be kaiju'd. Shame on you. We have another Supreme King Clearwing, which is a Regeki on legs, enough said. Mr. Ignister, which is going to proactively pop your scales as well as reactively destroy one of your opponent's monsters. Or shuffle them away, really. It's really good for the ones that have built-in protection, kind of like Zarc, so you can Ignister big stuff away on your opponent's side of the board, as well as get your effects off, which is really nice. And of course, we have the Psyframe Lord Omega. If you're out of level 8s to make, this is just an awesome one. Hand loops your opponent. I was doing that all day yesterday, and it's just a good time, especially against rogue decks where they don't know what to do. 2 copies of Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. This is your main extra deck monster. This is going to open up your extra deck so you can summon things to the zones over here and then make as many monsters as you can to build the big boards. It also helps you recur advantage, helps you search. It's just an amazing card. Never run less than 2. If you can fit in a 3rd one, more power to you. I never make the 3rd one. I love having 2. 1 copy of Zephyr Metaltron, just because it's an easy way to get into the Vortex after you've summoned Electromite and you've made yourself an Absolute. Then you get to link summon all of them together into the Metaltron. It opens up more zones, and then you can just put your Vortex right behind it to really protect it, and you just have a lot of flexibility. And last but certainly not least, the Borreload Dragon. It's easy to get over 3 effect monsters on the board consistently, pretty much every time. It steals opponent's monsters, and I think it's a really good deal. We have, for the side deck, we have 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon and then 1 Time Star Magician. These are 2 very easy monsters to summon off of the Zarc plays and off the Odd Eyes plays, the Astrograph plays, any one of the Magicians, especially with Harmonizing too. It helps you toolbox out your deck with the Time Star, and the Flare Metal puts more pressure on the board. It's also very hard to destroy because you can't destroy it by card effect while it has XYZ material. Has a pretty big body, 2,800 points on this one. This one's got 2,400 points, works really well with Purple Poison Magician, and honestly, they are just devastating cards. So good for the sideboard. I didn't have enough room for the main board, but you could actually flip these out with pretty much any other rank 4 monsters in there, and you wouldn't miss the other ones. 2 copies of the Bricky Chicken, Mist Valley Apex Avian. So this one just negates anything. When an effect is activated, select a face-up Mist Valley monster you control, and then return it to its owner's hand, and then negate the effect, destroy the card. It's just another free negate. It's great against the rogue matchup, and because of the deck's consistency, you can side this in pretty freely without having to worry about it. 2 copies of Jinzo, just because Paleos are still occasionally a thing. Draco's still kind of a thing, takes care of those traps. 2 copies of Chaos Hunter. ABC is still a thing. This also helps shut down Trickstars when they're trying to make those reincarnation plays over there. When they can't banish cards, there's just nothing for them to do. You just get free stuff. Couple copies of Torrential Tribute, just because a lot of the monsters can't be destroyed by card effects in this deck, so it's a dark hole on your opponent's turn, and also helps to trigger your Astrograph Sorcerer to go ahead and get more plays later. And then 2 copies of Twin Twisters. You can put in Cyclones too if you want, honestly. That's another good option. I have like 3 open side deck slots over here, so you can toss in Twin Twisters, you can toss in Cosmic Cyclones. If you're on a budget, Mystical Space Typhoons is a good way to do it too. Just something to consider there, but I like how much card advantage that this deck can generate, so I like doing the Twin Twisters, getting rid of a bunch of back row. Solemn Strike is still real, so we like to avoid the Solemn Strike. Alright guys, that is it for the deck profile. I wanted to go ahead and thank you guys here at Team FTK, Jesse Byrne, and the rest of Team FTK for letting me go ahead and hijack the channel for a day. Like, comment, and subscribe to those guys if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit me up on TeamMLB Presents, Ace of Bats here. And on that bombshell, I'm signing out.